Most people believe lifestyle inflation begins when they earn more. It does not. It begins when a higher income quietly changes what they consider normal. A better apartment becomes necessary. A newer car begins to feel reasonable. More expensive restaurants become part of the routine. The raise that was supposed to create freedom is absorbed by a more demanding life. Nothing looks reckless. That is what makes it dangerous. Centuries ago, merchant families in Edo period Japan faced a similar problem. Trade could improve, profits could rise, a household could move from uncertainty to comfort. But the most disciplined merchants understood that prosperity created a new kind of risk, the temptation to let success rewrite the cost of daily life. Their answer was simple: do not allow income to decide your standard of living. Let discipline decide it. Edo merchants lived in a society that often ranked them below samurai in status, even when some merchant houses became economically powerful. Because reputation, survival, and continuity mattered, many successful families treated money with restraint. They recorded transactions carefully, avoided unnecessary display, and thought in terms of the household rather than the individual. The goal was not merely to become richer, it was to remain difficult to destroy. A merchant family could survive a poor harvest, a fire, a failed shipment, political change, or the death of a capable leader only if prosperity had been converted into reserves, relationships, productive assets, and trusted systems. So when income rose, the disciplined response was not always to expand consumption, it was to widen the distance between what the household earned and what it required to survive. That distance was power. This is the Japanese rule at the center of the story. Keep the visible life stable. Let the invisible surplus grow. It was not a single law written on a wall. It was a pattern of behavior found in durable merchant thinking. Control the household, preserve capital, avoid waste, and think beyond one season. The modern world teaches the opposite. It tells us that a larger income should produce a larger life, more space, more convenience, more symbols of progress. Each upgrade seems small, but together they create a permanent structure of higher costs, and permanent costs are different from temporary pleasures. A costly dinner disappears in an evening, but a larger rent, a financed car, private memberships, subscriptions, and expensive routines return every month. They become obligations. Soon the person who earns more is not more secure. They are simply responsible for feeding a more expensive machine. This is why lifestyle inflation is so difficult to notice. It rarely feels like inflation, it feels like improvement. Behavioral economics helps explain the trap. Human beings quickly adapt to better conditions. What once felt luxurious becomes ordinary. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Satisfaction rises briefly, then the mind resets. The new standard stops feeling special, but the new cost remains. There is another force at work: social comparison. People do not measure prosperity only by what they have. They measure it against what others appear to have. A raise changes the peer group, the neighborhood, the restaurants, the expectations, and sometimes the identity a person feels pressured to perform. The question quietly changes from, "What do I need?" to, "What should someone at my level have?" That question has no natural limit. This is where the discipline of the merchant and the discipline of the samurai meet. The samurai ideal emphasized control before action. The merchant applied a similar logic to capital. An impulse was not a command. Desire did not automatically deserve obedience. A purchase had to survive examination. What will this cost now? What will it cost repeatedly? What future choice will disappear because of it? That final question is opportunity cost. Every permanent upgrade consumes more than money. It consumes flexibility. It may delay investing, weaken emergency reserves, increase dependence on a salary, or make a future career change too dangerous. A person may say, "I can afford this." But the deeper question is, what will this prevent me from affording later? The ancient merchant mindset judged wealth by endurance, not appearance. A strong household was one that could absorb shock, wait patiently, and act when others were forced to retreat. That same principle applies to long-term investing. Compounding needs time, and time needs surplus. When every raise is consumed, the investor loses the raw material that compounding requires. The solution is not to reject every improvement. It is to separate growth from drift. Growth is chosen, drift is automatic. A chosen upgrade may add real value to life. It may improve health, safety, productivity, or family stability. Lifestyle drift is different. It happens because income increased, because others expect it, or because spending becomes the evidence that success occurred. The Japanese rule makes lifestyle inflation difficult by reversing the order of decision. Instead of earning more and then deciding what remains, decide first what portion of the increase will never enter your lifestyle. For example, when income rises, part of the increase can be directed immediately toward long-term investments, cash reserves, debt reduction, education, or productive tools. Only the remaining portion is available for lifestyle changes. The exact percentage is personal. The order is not. The future is paid first. This creates a stable base. Your lifestyle may improve, but it improves more slowly than your income. The gap between earnings and expenses becomes wider. That gap becomes resilience. A practical version of the rule has 4 parts. First, define enough. Not a life of deprivation, but a clear standard of sufficiency. Without a definition of enough, every improvement creates a new desire. Second, delay permanent upgrades. Before taking on a higher recurring cost, wait. Allow the emotion of the raise, promotion, or successful month to fade. What still seems valuable after time has passed is more likely to be deliberate. Third, convert increases into assets before habits. Automate contributions, build reserves, strengthen the financial foundation before allowing new spending to become normal. Fourth, review the household as a system. Edo merchants used records because memory is flattering and emotion is selective. A modern household needs the same honesty. Track not only what was spent, but which costs have become permanent and which decisions reduced future freedom. Many people make the mistake of treating discipline as a temporary stage. They live carefully until income rises, then abandon the very behavior that created progress. But financial discipline is not a bridge to a more expensive identity. It is the structure that keeps prosperity from becoming fragile. Another mistake is confusing minimalism with visible simplicity. A person can own few things and still have poor financial habits. True minimalism is not an aesthetic. It is the removal of obligations that do not serve a meaningful purpose. The merchant did not preserve wealth by looking poor. He preserved it by refusing to let vanity control the household ledger. There is also a generational dimension. When one generation turns every increase into consumption, the next generation inherits expectations without receiving the assets needed to support them. But when income growth is converted into capital, knowledge, and resilient systems, prosperity becomes transferable. Generational wealth begins long before an inheritance. It begins when a household learns not to consume every sign of success. A stronger life is measured not by expanding comfort, but by keeping choices open when conditions change. That is where restraint stops feeling like sacrifice and begins to look like lasting real freedom. This is the quiet power of the Japanese rule. It does not require predicting markets. It does not depend on a perfect salary. It does not demand a joyless life. It simply refuses to let income expansion become expense expansion by default. Keep the visible life stable. Let the invisible surplus grow. Over time, the difference between those two lines can become more valuable than any object purchased to display progress. Because true wealth is not the ability to make life more expensive. It is the ability to make life less vulnerable. The Edo merchant understood that fortune could change, markets could turn, and status could disappear, so he built a household that did not need constant expansion to feel successful. That lesson remains. When your income rises, the world will offer you a larger life. Wisdom asks a different question. Can you build a stronger one?